She asked, "Can I sleep in your bed tonight?" I replied, "There's only one bed." Snow fell constantly, drifting over the small human settlement like a pale ocean. The colony's buildings were sparse, made of reinforced metal and transparent domes. Steam hissed from vents, and the wind howled across the frozen plains. Out here, thousands of light years from Earth, life was a struggle, and only human stubbornness kept them alive. Captain Eli Varon trudged through the snow, his boots sinking slightly into the icy crust with every step. He was tired. The supply mission from the orbiting station had taken longer than expected, and the cold had seeped into his bones. His breath made clouds in front of his face as he hurried toward the main outpost. Lights from the domes glowed warmly against the cold white landscape, promising shelter, warmth, and, he hoped, quiet. Inside the main dome, the settlement was alive with muted activity. Engineers repaired broken machinery, scientists checked environmental readings, and a few children played with small robotic drones. Eli passed by familiar faces, nodding in greeting, but he didn't stop. He needed his quarters. Eli's room was small but comfortable by colony standards. One bed, a desk, a few storage units, and a heater that hummed quietly in the corner. The room smelled faintly of recycled air and the faint chemical scent of insulation. He dropped his pack on the floor and kicked off his snow-covered boots. For a moment, he just sat on the bed, letting the warmth creep into his frozen body. He had expected to be alone for the night. The colony was small. The last new arrival had come weeks ago. But a soft knock on the door changed that. "Captain Varon," Eli stood. The voice was unfamiliar, soft but confident. He opened the door. Standing there was a woman dressed in the standard colony-issued winter suit, though hers had a few personal touches, a scarf wrapped loosely around her neck and a patch on her shoulder. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and curious. "Dr. Lyra Solon," she said, offering a hand. "I was assigned to this quarters for the night. The others are full. I hope that's acceptable." Eli raised an eyebrow. "There's only one bed." She blinked, then smiled faintly. "Yes, I saw that. Can I sleep in it tonight?" Eli paused. The words seemed simple, almost innocent, but they carried the weight of personal space, of boundaries, of trust. He didn't know her yet, didn't know if she was careful or reckless, friendly or distant. Yet the cold outside was brutal. The wind could kill if you stayed out too long, and sometimes human warmth was just as valuable as any heater. "Fine," he said finally, stepping aside. "But you stay on your side." She nodded, stepping in with a careful smile. There was a brief awkwardness as they arranged themselves, but the room's small heater quickly made the air bearable. Outside, the storm continued to rage, the wind battering the walls and shaking the windows. Inside, the shared room was quiet except for the hum of the heater and their slow breathing. After a while, Lyra spoke. "I've read about this colony before. It's small but important." Eli nodded. "Important enough to be tough. We survive out here because we have to. There's no one else around for hundreds of kilometers." She turned to look at him. "And that doesn't bother you," he shrugged. "Not if I can make it work. Humans adapt, that's what we do." Her eyes widened slightly. "I like that, adaptation. I've studied alien species before, but humans are remarkable in ways no one seems to notice." Eli tilted his head. "You'll learn soon enough. If you survive the cold, you'll see it yourself." They talked for hours, sharing stories of previous missions, discoveries, and even small personal details. The conversation was cautious at first but gradually grew comfortable. Eli learned that Lyra had traveled across several human colonies, studying life on extreme planets, and that she had a curiosity matched only by her intelligence. Lyra learned that Eli had been stationed on this planet for nearly 3 years, and that his patience and discipline had kept the small colony alive through blizzards, equipment failures, and isolation. Outside, the wind shrieked like a living thing, but inside the small room, two humans shared warmth, conversation, and the quiet understanding of survival. Neither said much about it, but both felt the subtle relief of not being alone. The night deepened. Outside, the storm grew heavier. The heater hummed steadily, but even inside the dome, the cold was never far away. They prepared for sleep, each adjusting the small blankets and arranging their space. Lyra gave a polite nod, settling carefully into her side of the bed. Eli lay back, eyes closed, listening to the faint creaks and groans of the metal structure around them. For a moment, the universe outside seemed impossibly vast. They were tiny dots of life in a frozen, alien wilderness, cut off from Earth and the rest of humanity. Yet here they were, two humans sharing a small bed and relying on the simplest of things: warmth, trust, and conversation. That, Eli realized, was a kind of victory in itself. Hours passed. Outside, the storm continued to howl, snow piling against the dome like white waves. Inside, the small room remained a fragile haven, the soft breathing of two humans filling the space. Lyra drifted into sleep first, her face relaxed and unguarded. Eli watched her for a moment, thinking about the fragility and strength of humans, how they survived in places nothing else could, how they adapted, and how even in the coldest, loneliest parts of space, companionship was possible. Eli finally closed his eyes, letting exhaustion claim him. But even in sleep, he remained alert in the way humans always are on a frontier world. He felt the weight of responsibility, of isolation, but also of potential, the potential of this colony, of new discoveries, and of the unexpected alliances that formed in the harshest conditions. The first part of the night passed without incident. The storm outside showed no sign of slowing, but inside, life persisted. Two humans sharing a single bed quietly proved that even in the coldest places, human ingenuity, resilience, and trust could endure. By the time the first faint light of the alien sun touched the snow outside, Eli and Lyra were awake. They rose quietly, preparing for the day ahead. The storm would not stop them. Survival required movement, and movement required planning. "Morning," Lyra said softly, brushing snow from her coat. "Morning," Eli replied, eyes scanning the horizon. "Storm hasn't let up." "No, but we'll manage, we always do." He nodded, a small smile on his lips. Humans adapted. Humans survived. And sometimes, humans shared one bed for warmth, trust, and the simple truth that in a cold, dangerous universe, it was better not to be alone. For now, that was enough. The storm had not ended. It raged across the frozen plains, a blinding wall of white that blocked the horizon. The wind howled like a living beast, tearing against the colony's domes, shaking metal beams and piling snow against the reinforced doors. Outside, the world was an endless, frozen wasteland. Inside, the humans of the colony prepared to survive another day, knowing the storm could last for hours, maybe days. Captain Eli Varon stood at the main dome's viewport, his arms crossed. The storm reflected in his dark eyes. He had lived through dozens of storms like this since being stationed on this planet, but this one felt stronger, hungrier. Beside him, Dr. Lyra Solon was studying the same frozen horizon, her notebook open, jotting down wind speeds, temperature changes, and snow density. Her face was calm, focused, but Eli could sense the tension beneath her composed exterior. "This one's strong," Eli said finally, breaking the silence. "Could last longer than usual. We might be trapped here for a while." Lyra nodded, still writing. "I've seen storms on other planets, but nothing like this. It's beautiful in a dangerous way." Eli chuckled. "Beautiful if you don't mind freezing to death." They shared a small laugh, though both knew it was true. In the extreme cold, even minor mistakes could be fatal. The colony's walls were strong, but the wind was relentless, and the energy supply was strained. The storm had already knocked out one external generator. If the main systems failed, their situation could turn deadly within hours. Eli turned to the control panel. We'll need to check the external relays and the backup generators. I'll go out first. You can follow, but stay close. One mistake and we're screwed." Lyra nodded, securing her winter gloves and coat. "Understood. Let's do this." The airlock hissed open, and they stepped into the storm. The cold was immediate, biting into exposed skin through even the thickest insulation. Snow whipped around them in blinding sheets, and the wind tried to push them backward with every step. Eli led the way, carefully following the markers that guided them to the generators outside. Every movement required effort. Even walking through deep snow was exhausting. "Keep your eyes on the markers," Eli shouted over the wind. "Don't let the storm blind you." Lyra nodded, squinting through the whiteout. Despite the cold and danger, there was a spark of excitement in her eyes. Humans were not meant to thrive in these conditions, yet they adapted, survived, and even found ways to study and explore the extreme. She felt that spark inside her, a reminder of why humans were remarkable. They reached the first generator. It was partially buried under snow, its protective panels bent from the storm. Eli immediately got to work, opening the panels and examining the machinery. The generator's core was exposed, frost forming around the circuits. He muttered under his breath, checking wires and connectors. Lyra handed him tools, her hand surprisingly steady despite the cold. "You've done this before," she said. Eli didn't look up. "Plenty of times." Generator repair on a frozen planet is routine if you want to survive. Lyra smiled faintly. "Routine for you, terrifying for me." He glanced at her, a brief flicker of amusement crossing his face. "You'll get used to it." Together they worked. Hours passed in a blur of cold, metal, and concentrated effort. Every now and then, Eli would glance at Lyra, impressed by her adaptability. She didn't complain, didn't hesitate, and her mind worked fast, anticipating problems before they arose. She reminded him why humans thrived in impossible conditions. They weren't the strongest species, they weren't the fastest, but they were smart, adaptable, and capable of incredible endurance when survival depended on it. Finally, the generator hummed to life. The faint vibration of power running through the cables was a small victory against the storm's overwhelming force. Eli allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "Good work," he said, clapping Lyra on the shoulder. "You too," she replied. "I've never seen anything like this." Humans are incredible." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Stick with me long enough, you'll see it every day." They moved to the next generator, deeper into the storm. The wind grew stronger, almost as if it could push them off their feet. Snow drifted in waves and visibility dropped to mere meters. Eli reached for Lyra's arm. "Stay close. One wrong step and the snow could bury us." She nodded, gripping his arm tightly. Together, they navigated the shifting terrain, relying on trust and experience to guide them. Even in the face of the storm, there was a rhythm to their movement, a shared understanding that humans survived not because of luck, but because of cooperation, skill, and perseverance. Hours passed. The storm continued to rage, but they checked each generator, repaired each broken circuit, and restored power to the colony's defenses. By the time they returned to the dome, both were exhausted, faces flushed, and bodies stiff from the cold. Inside, the air felt warmer, the hum of heaters reassuring. "Not bad," Eli said, removing his gloves. "We made it through, again." Lyra sank onto a chair, exhaling. "I didn't think I'd survive out there, but I did. Humans really are something else." Eli nodded, a quiet smile forming. "Yeah, that's what we do." They spent the evening in the main dome, sipping recycled water and sharing a meal from the colony's stores. Outside, the storm continued its relentless assault, but inside, humans thrived. They repaired broken equipment, checked data, and discussed strategies for survival. Lyra shared her studies on alien microbes found beneath the ice, and Eli offered insights on colony engineering. Each contribution strengthened their understanding of the planet and each other. As night fell again, the storm's intensity lessened slightly, but it did not stop. Eli and Lyra returned to their quarters, sharing the small bed once more. It was practical, a matter of warmth and space, but also a reminder of the bond forming between them. "Another long day," Eli said quietly, lying back. "Yes," Lyra replied, "but we survived. That counts for something." Eli nodded. "It counts for a lot. Surviving here, surviving anywhere in space, it's what humans do best." Lyra's eyes softened. "It's strange, isn't it? Being so far from Earth, so far from everything familiar, and still, humans find ways to survive, to adapt, to care for each other." Eli turned to look at her. "That's the point. We're not the fastest, we're not the strongest. But we think, we plan, we adapt, and we stick together. That's why we survive." She smiled faintly, closing her eyes. "Then I'm glad I'm here. Even in this storm, even in this frozen hell, humans are remarkable." Eli smiled back, feeling a rare sense of calm. Outside, the storm was still powerful, still threatening. But inside, human ingenuity, courage, and companionship shone brighter than any storm. The night stretched on, and both of them drifted into sleep, exhausted but alive, ready to face whatever the frozen planet had in store next. For humans, survival was never easy, but survival was what they did best. And even in the coldest, most isolated corners of the universe, humans endured, adapted, and thrived. The storm had finally eased, leaving a pale, icy world glistening under the alien sun. The sky was a soft, frosty blue, and the winds had calmed to a gentle, almost comforting whisper. The colony stirred again, repairing minor damage from the previous day's storm, checking equipment, and ensuring the generators were stable. Captain Eli Varon and Dr. Lyra Solon stood outside the main dome, examining the snow-covered plains. The cold was still intense, but without the storm, visibility was excellent. Eli's sharp eyes scanned the horizon while Lyra adjusted her scanner device, humming quietly as it analyzed the ice layers beneath them. "Strange readings here," Lyra said, pointing at a faint pattern in the snow. "There's something below, something unnatural." Eli knelt, brushing the snow away carefully. The ice underneath was darker than usual, almost metallic in sheen. He tapped it with a small probe. The ice responded differently than normal frozen water. It hummed faintly under the impact. "What do you think it is?" Eli asked, frowning. Lyra's eyes gleamed with excitement. "I don't know yet, but it's definitely not natural. Could be buried structures, maybe alien in origin." Eli straightened, assessing the situation. "Well, we can't ignore this. Let's mark the area and get the excavation drones ready." The colony's drones were advanced machines, designed for extreme cold and capable of precise digging and analysis. Eli called the operators, giving instructions, while Lyra monitored the readings. Slowly, carefully, the drones began to dig through the ice, their mechanical arms scraping and cutting through the frozen layers. Hours passed. Eli and Lyra worked side by side, checking readings, adjusting machinery, and ensuring the drones remained functional. The sun moved slowly across the pale sky, casting long shadows over the snow. Then the first hint of a structure appeared, a curved metallic surface, smooth and reflective, unlike any human technology. Eli knelt near the opening, brushing away more snow. "This isn't human," he said quietly, almost to himself. Lyra crouched beside him, scanning the structure with her portable analyzer. "Definitely not, but it's strange. Parts of it seem compatible with our understanding of physics. Almost like it was designed for us to figure out." Eli frowned. "Or maybe designed to be discovered. Either way, this changes everything." They watched as the drones carefully cleared more ice, revealing a sleek dome-shaped structure, smooth and metallic, with etched symbols along its surface. The symbols were not like any written language Lyra had seen, but she felt a strange familiarity in the patterns, as if they followed some universal logic. "Could this be a research station?" Eli asked. "Or a relic?" Lyra shook her head. not a station. Too precise, too purposeful. This looks deliberate, like a message or a key. Eli's mind raced. The colony had been chosen for this location because of the ice's unique properties, the planet's energy signatures, and the likelihood of life beneath the surface. They had suspected something hidden, but this was beyond expectations. "Let's get inside," Eli said, checking his equipment. "We'll need to enter carefully, could be dangerous." Lyra nodded, securing her gloves. "Agreed, but I'm ready." They approached the small entrance that had been revealed by the drones. The surface was cold, but not frozen to the touch, as if the structure maintained its own internal temperature. Eli pressed a small control panel embedded in the wall. Nothing happened. Lyra adjusted her scanner, running energy signatures along the surface. "I think it responds to biological input," she said. "It's like it senses who's touching it. Try placing your hand here." Eli hesitated for a moment, then pressed his palm against the panel. A faint hum filled the air, and the door slowly slid open, revealing a dark interior that seemed impossibly deep. Inside, the air was warmer, surprisingly breathable. The walls were metallic but smooth, curving in ways that defied normal architecture. Light pulses traveled along the surfaces, responding to movement and presence. Lyra stepped inside, awe in her eyes. This is incredible," she whispered. "The material it's self-sustaining, it's like it grows with us." Eli nodded, his eyes scanning every corner. "Not just that, look at the engineering. Whoever built this knew exactly what they were doing. Advanced beyond anything we've seen, but compatible with our tech. That's remarkable." They moved deeper into the structure, Lyra scanning biological readings while Eli examined the mechanical systems. The walls hummed softly, responding to their presence. Symbols along the surfaces seemed to shift slightly as they passed, almost as if the structure itself was alive, or at least aware. Suddenly, a soft light pulsed from the floor. Panels opened, revealing a small console with alien markings. Lyra bent down, running her scanner over it. "This is incredible. It's a communication interface, but not like anything we've used. It's adaptive. It's designed to teach the user how to interact with it." Eli leaned in. "So, it's waiting for humans to figure it out." "Exactly," Lyra replied, excitement in her voice. "It's like a puzzle, a test. Whoever built this wanted intelligent life to find it and understand it." Hours passed as they explored. Every room, every corridor, revealed new marvels. Energy systems that seemed to draw power from the planet itself, devices that analyzed and recorded biological data, and strange symbols that shifted in response to thought patterns. Lyra took notes constantly, her mind racing with hypotheses. "This could revolutionize human science," she said. "If we can understand even half of this, humans will gain knowledge beyond anything we've imagined." Eli nodded, equally fascinated. "It's a reminder. Humans survive, adapt, and explore. But when we encounter something like this, we have to use our intelligence and cooperation. That's what makes us remarkable." They paused in a large chamber filled with softly glowing lines of energy running along the walls and floor. The room hummed with power, almost like a heartbeat. Lyra placed her hand on one of the lines, and the patterns shifted, responding to her touch. "It's alive," she whispered, "not like us but aware." Eli stood beside her, feeling the energy pulse through the floor. "And we're learning from it. That's humanity's strength. We adapt, we study, we survive, and we improve." They spent the rest of the day mapping the structure, documenting everything and planning the next steps. The discovery was immense, but so was the responsibility. The storm outside had cleared, but the challenges inside the ice remained. Humans were not the original builders of this structure, but Eli and Lyra knew that understanding it would require everything humans did best: intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. As night fell, they returned to their quarters, exhausted but exhilarated. Sharing the small bed again, they remained silent for a long moment, both thinking about the alien structure beneath the ice. "You know," Lyra said quietly, "out there we could have died, but instead we discovered something incredible. Humans really are amazing." Eli smiled faintly. "That's why we survive, that's why we explore, and that's why we adapt. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but the ones who keep learning, keep trying, keep working together." She turned to him, eyes reflecting both fatigue and admiration. "I think I understand now. Humans are remarkable. Even in the coldest, most dangerous places, we endure, we adapt, and we discover." Eli nodded. "Exactly, and this is just the beginning." Outside, the frozen plains glimmered under the alien sun, quiet and still after the storm. Inside the small colony, two humans had survived, explored, and uncovered a mystery far greater than themselves. The alien structure beneath the ice was a puzzle, a challenge, and a testament to the universe's possibilities. But more than that, it was a reminder of human resilience, intelligence, and curiosity. Eli and Lyra knew that whatever dangers awaited them, whatever secrets the structure held, humans would face it together, and they would endure. For humans, survival was never just about resisting the cold or fighting storms. Survival was about learning, adapting, cooperating, and discovering. And in the frozen, distant reaches of the galaxy, humans did all of that, and more. The alien structure beneath the ice seemed almost peaceful when Eli and Lyra first explored it. Its glowing walls, the soft hum of energy, and the responsive interfaces created a sense of wonder. But that calm was deceptive. As the day wore on, strange anomalies began to appear. Lights flickered unexpectedly. Doors opened and closed on their own. The soft hum of energy sometimes rose into low, vibrating pulses that made the floor beneath them tremble. Eli was the first to notice it. "Lyra, the energy readings, they're spiking. The system isn't just passive, it's reacting to us." Lyra frowned, her eyes scanning the panels. "Reactions aren't dangerous, are they? It's adaptive like before. Maybe it wants to teach us something." Eli shook his head. "Maybe, or maybe it's defensive. Something tells me this structure doesn't like surprises." As if confirming his fears, a large corridor suddenly sealed off behind them with a metallic clang. The soft hum of the walls turned into a sharp, resonant pulse. Lyra jumped back. "Eli, did you hear that?" He nodded. "Yeah, the system, it's locking down. We need to stay calm and think." The structure's doors were clearly automated, but the mechanism was alien, far beyond normal human engineering. Eli examined the control panel nearby. Symbols shifted rapidly, almost like the system was scanning them, judging them. "Lyra," he said, "this is more than a puzzle now. The structure sees us as intruders or as subjects. Either way, we need a plan." Lyra's fingers flew over her scanner. "The energy patterns, they're consistent with defensive protocols. If we make a mistake, we could trigger something dangerous." Eli nodded grimly. "Then we work together. That's what humans do best." They started moving cautiously down the corridor, analyzing the symbols, tracing the energy flows, and predicting what the structure might do next. Every step was deliberate. The walls pulsed faintly as they passed, and the floor seemed to shift subtly underfoot. Eli realized that the structure might be partially sentient, or at least able to adapt in real time to their actions. Hours passed as they navigated the labyrinthine interior. At one point, the system activated a series of defense drones, small, hovering devices with sharp edges designed to protect the core of the structure. They moved quickly and silently, targeting intruders. "Get down," Eli shouted, diving to the side and grabbing Lyra. The drones circled them, scanning rapidly. Eli grabbed a metal panel from the wall and hurled it at one of the devices. Sparks flew and the drone malfunctioned, falling to the ground. Lyra's eyes were wide, but she didn't panic. She activated her scanner, sending a pulse that temporarily disrupted the other drones. Good thinking, Eli said, panting. But we can't keep this up forever. We need to reach the core before the system locks us out completely. They continued, relying on a combination of instinct, intelligence, and quick adaptation, classic human traits that the alien system seemed unable to predict fully. Every corridor was a challenge, every chamber a puzzle, but together they found ways to bypass the obstacles, disable minor threats, and understand the alien logic. Eventually, they reached a vast central chamber. The energy there was intense, almost overwhelming. The walls glowed with intricate patterns, and at the center was a large console, pulsing with a bright, steady light. It felt alive, aware, and intelligent. "This must be the core," Lyra whispered, awe in her voice. "Everything we've seen, it leads here." Eli studied the console. "And I think it's judging us, testing us. Every challenge, every defense system, it's designed to measure human capability." Lyra nodded. "Then we need to show it. Humans survive because we adapt, we learn, we cooperate, we don't panic, we don't give up." Together, they approached the console. Lyra's scanner interfaced with it, sending pulses that mirrored the system's own energy patterns. Eli examined the symbols, predicting the next sequence of defenses and guiding their actions. Slowly, methodically, they synchronized with the system. The energy pulsed faster, brighter, almost like it was alive and excited. The drones ceased their attacks. The wall's hum became harmonious, gentle. The structure had stopped seeing them as threats. "They're responding positively," Lyra said, eyes wide. "It's like we passed its test." Eli nodded, feeling a rare sense of triumph. "Not because of luck. Humans survive because we think, we adapt, and we cooperate. That's what we just proved." But their relief was short-lived. A hidden section of the chamber suddenly opened, revealing a deeper, more dangerous passage. The energy there was unstable, and the air felt charged, almost electric. "We're not done," Eli said, frowning. "There's more, and it's likely more dangerous." Lyra swallowed, but determination shone in her eyes. "Then we face it together." They moved into the new passage, carefully navigating the unstable terrain. Energy arcs leapt across the walls, threatening to strike, and the floor shifted in unpredictable ways. But their training, instincts, and cooperation allowed them to adapt quickly. Eli guided Lyra through unstable sections, while Lyra analyzed energy patterns, predicting safe paths. "You know," she said, "the system tests more than strength. It tests intelligence, patience, and cooperation. That's very human." Eli smiled briefly, despite the tension. "Exactly. Humans survive in impossible situations because we use our minds, not just our strength. That's why we're remarkable." They reached another chamber, smaller but filled with an incredible energy grid. The patterns of light moved like a living network, and in the center was a small, glowing object, unlike anything they had seen. It was intricate, precise, and pulsing with energy that seemed compatible with human technology. Lyra bent closer. This could be a power source or a data core, maybe both. If we understand it, the colony could advance centuries in technology." Eli studied it carefully. "But it's guarded by the system. We need to extract information without triggering defenses. Think carefully." Together, they developed a plan. Lyra interfaced with the object, sending gentle pulses to match its energy signature. Eli monitored the surrounding systems, predicting potential defensive responses. Slowly, carefully, they synchronized with the object, learning its patterns and unlocking its secrets. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the occasional hum of energy. Then finally, the object responded fully, opening pathways of data and energy flow to their devices. The system pulsed gently, as if acknowledging their success. "We did it," Lyra whispered, disbelief and excitement mixing in her voice. "We actually did it." Eli allowed himself a small smile. "Humans survive because we work together, because we think, and because we never give up. That's what we just showed this structure." They spent the remainder of the day documenting the system, mapping energy flows and storing information for the colony. The alien structure had tested them, but humans had triumphed, not through brute force, but through intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation. As night fell, they returned to their quarters, exhausted yet exhilarated. Sharing the small bed again, they allowed themselves a moment of quiet reflection. "You know," Lyra said softly, "the structure wasn't just testing us. It was teaching us something about ourselves, about humans." Eli nodded, lying back. "Yes, it's a reminder. Humans survive because we adapt, we learn, and we cooperate. That's our greatest strength." Outside, the frozen plains glimmered under the alien sun, quiet and still. Inside, two humans had faced incredible danger, learned from it, and succeeded where others might have failed. The storm had passed, but the real test had been understanding, adapting, and working together. And in that, humans had triumphed once again. For humans, survival was not just resisting storms or dangers. It was intelligence, creativity, cooperation, and perseverance. And wherever humans went in the galaxy, those traits would continue to shine. The discovery beneath the ice had changed everything. The colony was buzzing with energy, not from the storm this time, but from knowledge and opportunity. What Eli and Lyra had uncovered was more than alien technology. It was a key to advancing human survival, engineering, and understanding of the universe. Captain Eli Varen stood at the main dome's observation deck, looking out over the snow-covered plains. The sun reflected off the icy surface, creating a dazzling, almost magical glow. The wind was calm now, and the cold, though still biting, felt manageable. Below, the drones moved steadily, transporting materials and data from the alien structure to the colony. Lyra approached, holding a tablet filled with readings and diagrams. "The data integration is progressing faster than expected," she said. "Some of the energy systems can be adapted to our generators. If we can replicate even part of it, the colony will be self-sufficient." Eli nodded, a small smile forming. "That's human ingenuity at work. We survive because we learn, adapt, and improve. And now we'll thrive because we cooperate and apply knowledge." They walked together through the colony, observing the workers and drones implementing changes based on the alien data. Engineers recalibrated generators to pull energy more efficiently from the ice. Scientists analyzed new materials for stronger buildings, and even small agricultural pods were being modified to survive with minimal energy. The colony was evolving, and it was humans driving the change. As they passed the central living quarters, Eli paused, noticing the small bed in his room. It had been more than a bed for the past days. It had been a place of shared warmth, quiet reflection, and trust. Lyra looked at him, reading his thoughts. "You know," she said, a soft smile on her lips, "for a small bed it's been pretty important." Eli chuckled. "It's more than that, it's a reminder. Humans survive in impossible conditions because we trust, cooperate, and support each other. Sometimes it starts with something as simple as sharing a bed in the cold." Lyra nodded, quietly appreciating the meaning behind his words. It was human resilience and cooperation, in its smallest and most intimate form, that built the foundation for their survival and for the colony's future. Hours later, Eli and Lyra returned to the alien structure for a final inspection. The core of the structure pulsed softly, almost welcoming them. Energy lines traced patterns along the walls, showing stability. The system had accepted them as allies rather than intruders, acknowledging their intelligence, patience, and cooperation. "This structure, it's teaching us," Lyra said quietly, placing her hand on one of the glowing panels. "Not just technology, but strategy, patience, and unity. It's like it understands what makes humans special." Eli nodded. "Exactly. We survived the storm, we adapted to the unknown, we solved its tests. Humans aren't the strongest, not the fastest, but we endure, we learn, and we work together. That's why we thrive." The structure responded to their presence, pulses of light and soft hums moving across the walls. It felt alive, almost sentient but peaceful. Eli realized that their victory wasn't about domination. It was about harmony with something far greater than themselves. They had survived, understood, and integrated with a system that had once seemed impossible to comprehend. Back in the colony, the first real results of their efforts were visible. Generators hummed efficiently, powered partially by alien energy designs. Storage units were reorganized to maximize space and energy usage. Even the small hydroponics lab showed signs of accelerated growth, thanks to the subtle modifications inspired by the alien structure systems. The workers, scientists, and engineers moved with renewed purpose, inspired by the possibilities. They were humans on the edge of survival, yet thriving through intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. Lyra and Eli watched quietly, a shared satisfaction in their eyes. "You know," Lyra said, "I never imagined a small human colony could evolve so fast, but humans really are remarkable." Eli smiled faintly. "We survive because we adapt. We thrive because we work together. That's what humans do, no matter where we go in the galaxy." Later that evening, the storm long gone, they returned to their quarters. The small bed awaited them once more, a simple reminder of their shared journey. They prepared for rest, settling carefully under the blankets. The warmth between them wasn't just physical, it was trust, mutual respect, and the shared knowledge that together humans could face anything. "Another long day," Eli said, stretching. "Yes," Lyra replied, "but worth it. Everything we did today, it matters. Humans matter." Eli nodded. "We adapt, we learn, we survive, and we'll keep doing it. Out here in the coldest, most isolated places, we thrive because we're humans." They lay back, the soft hum of the heater mingling with the quiet outside. The alien structure beneath the ice pulsed softly, now integrated with the colony's systems. It was a silent partner in human survival, a testament to what could happen when humans approached challenges with intelligence, cooperation, and courage. Lyra turned slightly toward Eli. "You know, sharing this bed, surviving the storm, discovering the structure, it all feels connected, like small steps that led to something bigger." Eli nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. "It is. Humans survive in the small moments and the big ones alike. Trust, cooperation, intelligence, it all adds up. That's why we endure." Outside, the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows over the colony and the icy plains beyond. The world was harsh, unforgiving, and alien, but it was also full of opportunity, discovery, and growth. Humans had survived storms, adapted to alien technology, and proven once again that intelligence, teamwork, and perseverance could overcome any obstacle. Lyra drifted off to sleep first, exhausted but content. Eli watched for a moment, thinking about the journey that had brought them here, the storm, the alien structure, the tests, and the victories. Finally, he closed his eyes, allowing sleep to take him. In the quiet of the room, in the warmth of the shared bed, humans had endured, learned, and thrived. The next day, the colony would continue to grow. The alien structure would continue to teach. And humans would continue to explore, survive, and excel, no matter how distant the stars or harsh the planets. Because that was what humans did best. They adapted, they cooperated, they discovered, and they endured. And somewhere deep inside, both Eli and Lyra knew this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, cold, and mysterious, but humans had a spark that no storm, no alien system, and no challenge could extinguish. They had proven it through action, ingenuity, and the quiet strength of cooperation. And as they slept, sharing warmth, trust, and the knowledge of their achievements, humanity's light shone brighter than ever, even on a frozen, distant world.